Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
We are cleared for takeoff, Chaos Kids. I'm Naomi.
Ooh, I'm Amber, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Is that foreshadowing?
And it really, of course it is. And it really is chaos, isn't it? It's always chaos around here. You guys, Amber moved her recording studio to a new room and technical difficulties. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if I sound like I'm in a tin can right now, it's because
she kind of is. She kind of is.
I guess I need to do some. I thought I was done. Never. God, so I'm sorry. Yeah, you know what? Now I feel like I sound echoey.
Because you do.
God damn it. I hate everything.
So look, sound quality is going to be a little annoying, but you know what? We're still going to bring it like we always bring it. Okay, you guys? So just bear with us because no one hates this as much as Amber does. Trust.
I have hatred in my heart right now. Pure hatred.
Well, other than that, what's going on with you?
Oh, we got Snowmageddon here. And so I'm not drinking for this episode because I'm driving my daughter to school when we get done.
Is it Snowmageddon, though?
A little bit in my neck of the woods.
Is it? I mean, we got snow, don't get me wrong, but like I've watched it like just reduce very quickly or disappear very quickly over the last couple of days. And it didn't seem like it was,
Mm-hmm.
I know the whole city's probably shut down, but I haven't left my house anyway. I mean, I wouldn't have regardless, snow or no snow. So
yes, the whole city did shut down, and so I'm going to be driving her to school later. So I'm just drinking my water
because you're responsible like that.
That's right. We don't drink and drive, especially with other people in the car. We 100%. Do have some announcements, though.
Do we?
Yeah, we've got a couple of them.
Well, tell me what we have to announce, because I'm oblivious, apparently.
Oh, no, you're not. You just don't remember. First, we have
That's what I mean by oblivious.
Oh, okay. I'm like, no, you're not. You're just confused. You're like, literally, that's what I said. You weren't left out of the know by me. That's what I'm saying. No. No. We have a new Chaos Kid. Diana T.
Diana what?
T.
Diana T.
Diana T. You're down with Diana T.
Awesome.
We got a super nice email from Kim F. And I tried to respond and it kicked it back to me.
Oh, right. We got an undeliverable response.
Yes, but we wanted to acknowledge that we received it and that it was very nice.
Very sweet.
Mm-hmm. And then we got an apology email from Jenny A. for traumatizing you with the Mike the Headless Chicken story.
She owned it. She just owned it. She apologized.
Yep. And then she provided another story suggestion. So I'm going to go ahead and take her up on that and see if I can traumatize you again.
Dude, every time the Chaos Kids send us a story, every time.
Dark.
Some of the darkest stories we've covered have come from Chaos Kids.
Yeah. Yes. And you were kind enough to point out to me that there was an update in the Aubrey Demron case.
Well, somebody on our TikTok page saw, I had done a On This Day post, because that's how long we've been on TikTok now. We have like the On This Day are coming around from last year. And I had posted, that's how long ago this story is from, that when we covered it, it was like a year ago. And they just came in on that post and was like, oh, there's an update on that.
It's a very new update. So we covered this case on episode 154, and the super summed up version of it is that she went missing.
She is
Aubrey Demron.
Okay.
And it sounds like pretty sketchy with her mom and stepdad. According to them, on March 9th, 2019, her mom woke up around 3:30 in the morning and saw Aubrey leaving the house. She told family members that she was going to meet up with a friend, and then she was never seen or heard from again. Her uncle, who was actually her best friend and more like her brother, and her Aunt Pam, they're very close and have sort of been the spokespeople for her case.
Was she the one there was weird things found throughout the time after she disappeared in weird places that like her.
Yeah, like a shoe in a ditch.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And there was always speculation that her mom's like boyfriend was sketchy. And
correct.
Yes. I do recall this story. Yeah.
Yep. So she, she was very high risk already. She's a native and trans from the Cherokee Nation of Oklahoma. So the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service sent out a media release on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025, stating that on January 31st, they responded to a call regarding the discovery of human remains located near Road 565 north of Ottawa County, which is about 40 minutes from where Aubrey was last seen. The Oklahoma Medical Examiner's Office responded to the scene and collected the remains, which were brought back for examination. And they said due to the condition of the remains, they are not able to determine a manner or cause of death, but they appeared to have been at this location for some time. And then less than a week after the remains were located, they were positively identified as belonging to Aubrey Dameron. Yeah, I know.
So a little bit of an update. At least we know something.
Yeah. Oh, I just remember her uncle Christian and her just being besties. And
yeah.
So sad. Awful.
At least she's found. Of course, I hate that we don't know what happened to her and we don't know anything beyond that, but at least we know where she is now.
Yeah. Do you have any? You're welcome. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Thank you for that update, Sissy.
Do you have anything? Do you have any updates?
I got nothing. Apparently, Snowmageddon is happening and I'm mostly oblivious.
Oh my gosh. You literally live in a basement apartment and work from home. This could get dangerous where you don't know anything that's happening in the three-dimensional world out there.
I mean, not like right outside my door, Like I do know things that are happening. It's not like like things are kept from me online. Like I'm pretty plugged in.
That's true. Well, we're meeting tomorrow for dinner. So
we are.
You're going to have to leave your house. I'm sorry.
I am.
I can show you around.
Amber's finally letting me buy her dinner for her birthday, which was like over a month ago. So
that's how we roll in this family.
Really is.
Oh, remind me to ask you about something off the air that I forgot.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. But, I'll remember that. I'm going to be holding on to that the whole time we're recording. I'm going to try and pay attention now, but it's going to be a struggle.
Until then, I have a crime. Try to focus.
Okay, go.
So we are going to February 9th, 2020. 21-year-old Dioneth Lopez had just gotten a job working for Amazon. She was in San Pablo, California. And during the week of February 9th, she decided to take some vacation time. Her best friend, Armando, says that Dioneth was extremely friendly and outgoing. They had met through a mutual friend, Sari. And Dioneth worked with Sari, and I think Armando was Sari's roommate. So it wasn't long before the three were like the three amigos, besties. Dioneth was adventurous and she was someone who was like always down for anything. So for this vacation, she planned on traveling to Washington to go hiking with friends.
Washington State?
Yes.
If you're going to travel to go hiking, Washington State is a great location. That is an excellent choice.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't need to be reminded because I'm from here, but the vastness of the Washington wilderness, like sometimes you forget.
I mean, the vastness of like the Western States wilderness is, I mean, we're talking, there is so much. But yeah, I mean, I love to hike and I love to backpack, even though I haven't in a really long time. And one of my besties and I that I hike with we've talked about how like we could literally spend our lives just exploring the trails and places to hike to and stay at in Washington and never have to leave the state. You know what I mean? Like we could literally, there's so much to see.
I know, so much. Yep. But also, like, if you're not a hiker and you're a murderer, it's pretty spooky, right?
For the murderer or
Just like if you're being all murdery, like this is also good stomping grounds for
sure,
that.
sure.
Mhm. So on February 14th, 2020, a call comes into the Clallam County Dispatch. And Clallam County is on the Olympic Peninsula, about 100 miles northwest-ish of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A call comes in that a body has been found in the woods.
Oh.
So once the patrol officer gets there, they determine that this is like clearly a homicide, not just like a hiking accident or a
Right.
exposure. And so they call the homicide detectives out to the scene. The body was in an extremely remote area. Like as they were driving just to the trailhead, they were going like for miles and miles without even seeing any house or civilization or anything.
They're like up there in the rainforest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh. So when they finally arrive to the scene, they find a female on the ground with her hood covering her face. And once detectives remove the hood from her face, they find significant trauma to her head and face, and also that her throat had been cut from ear to ear.
Oh my God.
hmm Based on the condition of the body, it appeared that she had been there for a couple of days.
Mm.
I know. She didn't have a wallet or a purse with her. She was in a dark jacket with fur around the hood, and she had pink Guess tennis shoes on and freshly painted pink fingernails and glitter in her hair.
Oh.
No.
She was hiking the rainforest in tennis shoes, though?
Well, we'll get
Pink
to that.
tennis shoes?
We'll get to that.
Okay. Did she go by herself on this trip?
Technically, yes.
Okay.
hmm So there was blood spatter on the leaves around her body, which gave them the clue that she was killed where she was found. And they're searching for a murder weapon. And as they head down the trail, they find a broken tequila bottle that doesn't look like it had been like out there in the elements for any time. It looked pretty new. And they also found a blue pocket knife, but it was like a tradesperson knife, sort of like a box cutter almost, that opened up like a switchblade. Yep. And that had blood and hair on it. So,
What the thing I keep thinking is it's wild to me that they found any blood evidence on the scene and that she was there in February, because we're talking about rainforest, and that is like the rainy season in that area is even longer than it is in like Western like the Seattle, like Puget Sound area. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like that there was like she'd been out there for a couple of days and there had been no rain. That's wild.
Yeah, there might have been rain. There wasn't a whole lot of blood around, but what they did find was splatter that,
Right.
But also, would you go hiking in February?
No, that's what I'm saying. Especially not there.
No.
Especially not there.
Ugh.
Or really anywhere like that had any kind of elevation either, because in February, like you're still going to be running. I mean, there's places in Western Washington I've gone hiking in like April and still run into snow.
Oh,
Literally
really?
like hiked across snowfields. Yes.
Ew.
In like April. So
Not good. Not good.
no. So this is all just very strange.
Mm-hmm. So they bag up the items for evidence, and the only civilization that is anywhere near this forest is the Seven Cedar Casino, which also has a gas station next to it.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that place?
No.
Me either. So they decide to look at CCTV from the casino and the gas station, and they're able to get footage from the entire week prior to this body being discovered. And so they just start sifting through all of this. I can't imagine sifting through minute by minute of
Like a week's worth of video footage?
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, no.
Mhm. So they're able to see their victim, who of course is Dioneth, on camera in the gas stations because she's wearing the same dark coat with the fur around the hood and the pink shoes.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the gas station for about half an hour. She doesn't appear to be in any kind of distress. She's by herself. They see her go to the register and make a purchase. I can't tell what she's buying. It almost looks like maybe an item from the deli. Like
Sure. Like a sandwich or something.
something.
Mm-hmm.
And she does use a card to make the purchase. So they make a request for that receipt. And when she leaves the store, they're able to grab a still of her face that they're able to release to the media to help identify her.
Oh, because they haven't figured out that it is our girl Dioneth here.
No.
Got you.
Just she's a Jane Doe.
Mm-hmm.
So they see her on the cameras in the parking lot, go across the parking lot and get into the passenger side of a car that's parked quite a bit of ways from the store. So they can't see really a whole lot of details about the car or who was in the driver's seat. So they go back a few minutes in the footage to see that vehicle pulling in, and they can clearly see that it's a Chevy or a GMC pickup truck.
Mm-hmm.
So then they pull up the cameras for the pumps to see if, like, after the truck pulled out, did they go to another? Because it's kind of like the pumps and the store are sort of separate. And so they're like,
Right.
Let's see if they pulled into the pumps. And this person does pull into the gas pumps. And they can see that it's a red Silverado with tinted windows. And the driver gets out to throw some trash away, but the footage is way too grainy to see his face.
But they can tell that it's a dude.
It's a dude. Yep. And they are able to get a license plate number.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, in Seattle, Dioneth's friends and family haven't heard from her for 4 days.
In Seattle?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's where she...
So she's originally from Seattle. She had moved to California for the Amazon job, and she was coming back to Washington to go hiking with friends in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because you were talking about her friends down in California.
Mm-hmm.
These are different friends in Seattle.
Yes, correct.
Got you.
Mm-hmm. So Armando knows that she had plans to go camping and hiking, but he did think it was strange that he wasn't able to reach her.
It's also strange that she's like, I'm going to go camping and hiking by myself.
She said she was meeting up with friends.
Okay.
This turns out to be not true.
That she wasn't meeting up with friends?
Correct.
She actually was going by herself.
We'll get to it.
Okay. Because I am like, we do not go hiking and camping by ourselves. That is like rule number 1.
Some people are into that.
It's so not recommended.
Yeah. I don't go hiking or camping, period.
I know you don't, sister. I'm just saying, especially women. I know that people do it. But the other thing is that if you are going to do that, like I have a friend, my bestie Justin, he likes to go off hiking by himself and like backpacking by himself. And we have rules where it's like, okay, if you're doing that, then you have to tell me exactly where you're parking, what trailhead you're starting on, and like where you're, like when you plan to return. And if I do not hear from you by like, this day at this time, then I will be officially concerned that something happened to you in the woods and I am calling for a rescue team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Good.
Like you have to, safety.
Yeah. Well, that wasn't happening here.
Oh, Dioneth.
I know. So Dioneth's mom reaches out to Armando, and Dioneth's mom is in Mexico. And she's clearly concerned because she hasn't heard from her either. So Armando decides to do a missing persons post on all of his social media accounts, and he files a missing persons report.
Do you know which agency he files with?
The Clallam County.
Okay.
Because that's where she was supposed to be.
Okay, got you.
Mm-hmm. So investigators run the plates, and they find that the truck is registered to some dude in Seattle. So they head to his place of work, and this guy was an older man who had sold the truck, I think presumably on like Craigslist or something for cash. And the new owner failed to get new plates or register the vehicle. And the previous owner didn't really know who this person was. So they got nothing. Yeah. So they go back to the camera footage, and they're hoping that they can get a clear shot of whoever this person is that they can release to the media. So they go back to the footage when Dioneth leaves the store and gets in the truck. And they find that a few minutes later, the driver gets out of the car and also goes into the convenience store to buy something.
Separately. Weird.
So it's like weird behavior happening. Like
Yeah, it's very weird.
they parked in two different spots. They've gone into the store separately, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they are able to get a clear shot of this guy. And he appears to be Hispanic, between 25 and 35 years old. And he's dressed in what you would expect to see someone wearing if they worked in construction. He has like cargo style jeans on and a sweatshirt with like the 3 like neon reflective stripes.
Yep.
Yes. So they start searching through the missing persons cases in the area, and that is when they come across Armando's post about Dioneth. So they go visit Armando, and they bring him that still from the gas station with them, and he is able to positively say that that is Dioneth.
Right.
What they learn from him is that she has had an on-again, off-again relationship with a man named Alejandro Rojos, who went by Alex.
Okay.
So they go looking at Alex Rojos' social media, and in one of the pictures, he is wearing the same outfit as the dude on the gas station footage.
Right.
And he literally has like a hammer and like, here I am. Yeah. No, I'm your guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they learned that even though he had been dating Dioneth off and on, he also has a wife and children.
Real upstanding guy.
I mean, yes. So then, unfortunately, detectives have to make the call to Dioneth's mom in Mexico to let her know that they had found her body.
Ugh.
And that is when they learned that she had basically, her friends didn't approve of Alex.
Sure.
And so she was saying that she was going on this hiking trip with friends in Seattle, but that was never the plan. The plan was to go meet up with her on again, off again lover, and she didn't want people to know that. So,
right.
So yes, no, she wasn't hiking in February in Guess tennis shoes and by herself.
Got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Mhm.
I got you.
Uh-huh.
What? Sidebar. This is that thing where I'm not blaming anybody here. I'm just saying that they might have gotten, maybe it might not have even saved her, but it might have saved everybody a lot of question marks and heartache if she had felt like she could tell anyone in her life that she was going to spend time with this guy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I know. It's better to be embarrassed than dead.
Well, also, I'm saying, like, if any of her friends could have just been understanding of it to the point that she could at least talk to them about it without feeling like, oh, they don't approve of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It sounds, yeah, totally. It sounds like Armando sort of suspected that was what she was doing, you know, but
right.
I don't know. So they call Dioneth's mom in Mexico. They learn and tell her that, you know, she unfortunately had passed away. And they learned that when the mom contacted Armando, she also contacted Alex because she knew of him.
Oh.
To say that she didn't know where Dioneth was. And she said that Alex told her that he had taken Dioneth to the Olympic National Park to go hiking with friends. He said that she had plans to meet friends and he just dropped her off and, you know, like on the side of the road, side of the trailhead, like have fun hiking by. That's his story. Mm-hmm.
He drove from Seattle all the way out to the peninsula to drop her off at a trailhead.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So police are able to get cell phone records for Dioneth and Alex and track their movements. And what it shows is that Alex picked her up from SeaTac. Then both phones go to that gas station where they stay for 7 hours.
At the gas station?
Yeah, just like in his truck. I don't know.
I mean, I guess they could be having sex.
7 hours?
Well, I mean, for some of that time.
I didn't mean having sex for 7 hours. That sounds fucking miserable. I meant just lingering there for 7 hours.
But that is a long time to be in a gas station parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then both phones go up onto the hill where her body was found. And then both phones are turned off for a little over 3 hours. And then both phones return to Seattle where Alex lives.
Oh.
Uh-huh. So detectives are like, okay, we're going to bring this guy in. So when they go to meet up with him, they first tell him that they are just investigating a missing persons case. They don't tell
Sure.
him that they already know that she is dead.
And
So
that he probably killed her.
for sure. Yeah.
Right.
So he agrees to go down to the station to be interviewed. He said that Dioneth got into town on Monday and he picked her up. He said they drove to that gas station and they were just like talking, just vibing. So far, what he is saying matches up with what they know. He then said that he took her up to the hiking trail, dropped her off because she was supposed to meet friends there. And so detectives are like, do you know who these friends are that she was meeting? Did she have any hiking gear? And of course, he doesn't know these friends. She had no hiking gear at all. He just dropped her off in the middle of a wooded area and he hasn't heard from her since. That's his story.
I mean,
so
if
chivalrous.
we get to the part where he panics.
Yep. Oh, sister, it's like you've done this before. Uh-huh. They asked if he stuck around to like see if she was all good or whatever, and he was like, nope, just dropped her off and left.
Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun.
Yeah. So now they show him the phone records where the two are clearly with each other deep in the woods for quite some time. And then they let him know that the dot that is his cell phone ping is also right next to where they found her body.
Uh-huh.
So now he starts saying that while they were up there, they got in a fight.
Oh, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Because she said that she was going to kill his wife and kids. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then two black men with masks on showed up and forced him to kill her.
At gunpoint. And they took the phones. They turned them off so that I couldn't call for help.
I can't.
God, this guy is so fucking stupid.
I cannot.
Mm-hmm. He said that she pulled out a knife on him, and that is when he hit her over the head with the tequila bottle.
Sure, buddy.
Yep. So yeah, this is all bullshit. So he was arrested on charges of second-degree murder, and he actually ended up pleading guilty in December of 2021 and was sentenced to 16 years. Yeah. So, of course, it's later learned that the entire purpose of this trip was that she wanted to spend time with him and discuss their relationship status. And he, I don't know, freaked out because she wanted more than to just be a mistress, and he killed her.
Tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time. That is the murder.
Cliche. I mean, so cliche.
Yeah, it's so sad when I was looking for photos and stuff. Her Facebook page is still active, which is kind of spooky. But I mean,
it wasn't that long ago. Well, they do that memorial thing now, you know.
Mm-hmm. She just seems so full of life and so happy. Just all smiles all the time. Yeah.
Oh, what a loss.
A huge loss. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that was a big fucking bummer, sister.
I'm sorry, sister.
No, it's, I come to expect it from you.
Oh, okay. Wow. It was super shady, but okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How about some chaos?
Okay, how about we give the Chaos Kids a break from my echoey audio, and I'll let you talk for a while.
You can talk.
No.
Don't make me do it.
I just wanted a bigger room. Now look what I've done.
This is, you know what? Yes, you just created more problems for yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Airlines Flight 401 was a regularly scheduled flight from JFK Airport in Queens, New York to Miami Airport in Florida. On December 29th, 1972, it was operated using a Lockheed L-1011 TriStar aircraft, which had only been delivered to Eastern Air a few months earlier in August of that year. Captain Robert Loft, known to most as Bob, was a veteran pilot ranked 50th in seniority at Eastern Airlines and the captain of the plane that day in late December. Mm-hmm. Bob had been with the airline for 32 years and had accumulated a total of 29,700 flight hours throughout his flying career. He logged 280 hours in the L-1011 model. His crew on that flight included First Officer Albert Stockstill, known as Bert, age 39, and Flight Engineer Donald Repo, known as Don, aged 51. These other two men also had thousands of hours of flight experience.
Mm-hmm. We've got Bob, Bert, and Don. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The flight left New York that Friday at 9:20 p.m. Eastern Time with 163 passengers and 13 crew on board. Everything was normal and routine until 11:32 p.m. when the plane was beginning its approach into Miami.
Okay.
Bert lowered the landing gear and saw that the landing gear indicator, which was a green light that identifies that the nose gear is properly locked into the down position, was not lit up. So the pilots cycled the landing gear, but the confirmation light wouldn't come on. Captain Bob notified the tower that they would discontinue their approach to the airport, asking to enter a holding pattern. And the controller gave Bob clearance to climb back to 2,000 feet and hold west over the Florida Everglades.
Okay.
The cockpit crew quickly removed the light assembly to see what the fuck was going on with the landing gear light, while Don, the engineer, went below the flight deck to check through a small porthole to see visually with his own eyes if the landing gear was actually down or not.
Oh my God, there's a porthole where you can look at that?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds spooky to look through.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, give me the chills.
About a minute after reaching the holding pattern altitude, Bob told Bert to put the plane on autopilot.
Okay.
But a minute and a half later, the plane starts to slowly drop. So gradually that the crew didn't even notice it. Over the next few minutes, it lost at least 350 feet. And eventually, it was enough to trigger the altitude warning chime under Don's workstation. But Don was still below deck.
Mm-hmm.
And the voice recordings from the cockpit contained no indication that the pilots heard the chime.
You don't have an aerospace degree, but I'm curious. I mean, maybe you do, and I don't know. I don't know the mechanics of all of this. Like, they have to be at one altitude to safely be in one mode, and then it chimes if you're not in that mode at a different altitude. Like,
I'm not exactly sure what triggered the chime. I don't know if it was the descent or if it was because they have to descend to land. So I can't imagine the chime just going off just because they hit a certain altitude. Right. So I'm not exactly sure what the chime was about.
Okay.
Or maybe it does chime, and so partly they didn't even, like, it didn't even trigger for them because it's a sound they hear all the time. But, like, it's behind them or in a different area because the pilots sit up front, and I think the engineer is behind them, like, tending to the rest of the pieces and parts, right? Like,
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then a few minutes after all of that, the plane was at like half of its altitude. So it was like 1,000 feet instead of 2,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Bert is starting to do another turn, like a full 180, since they're basically doing circles, right? And hanging out while they get this landing gear situation resolved. I mean, that's what it means to just do a holding pattern. A holding pattern is just giant circles, right?
Right.
When he finally notices the altitude issue. Now, you have to remember, it's also like nighttime and they're out over the Everglades. They're not like over the city. So they don't have like a well-lit horizon right in front of them or anything, right? So the flight voice recorder captured a conversation between Bert and Bob where Bert says, "We did something to the altitude." And Bob says, "What?" And Bert says, we're still at 2,000 feet, right? And then Bob says, "Hey, what's happening here?" And less than 10 seconds after this exchange, Flight 401 crashed.
Oh my God.
Northwest of Miami, about 19 miles from the end of runway 9L into the middle of the Florida Everglades.
Oh my God.
The plane was traveling 227 miles per hour when it hit the ground. It was in mid-turn, so the left wingtip hit the ground first, then the left engine and left landing gear, and then finally the body of the plane, which skid through the grass and water, breaking apart as it went. The wreckage was scattered over an area of 1,600 feet long and 330 feet wide.
Oh, my God.
It was a devastating crash.
Mm-hmm.
The whole plane broke into pieces. Only the tail assembly was anywhere near intact. No complete cross-section of the passenger cabin remained.
Oh, my God. That also meant that they fell like 1,000 feet in less than 10 seconds. Like it just all of a sudden went whoosh.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's got to be such a scary sensation if you're a passenger in there.
I can't.
No.
I cannot.
Mm-mm.
Bud Marquis, a local airboat pilot, and his friend Ray Dickinson were out frog gigging.
I'm sorry?
Mm-hmm. This is a type of fishing where you catch fish with like a multi-pronged spear.
And why is it called frog gigging?
I don't know. They call it frog gigging.
That's awesome. Okay. I was just out there frog gigging and all of a sudden there's a plane.
Yep. They witnessed the crash. Mm-hmm. So both men rushed to rescue survivors. Bud suffered burns to his face, arms, and legs, a result of spilled jet fuel. But he kept going, taking people in and out of the crash site that night and into the next day.
Wow.
Of the 176 people on board, 101 of them died.
Oh, God.
Of the 75 that survived, every single one of them sustained injuries. Only 14 did not require hospitalization for their injuries.
God.
Most of the dead were passengers in the aircraft's midsection. The swamp absorbed a lot of the energy of the crash, lessening the impact on the plane. The muddy waters of the Everglades had covered the wounds of the survivors, preventing them from bleeding to death, but it also complicated their recovery. Organisms in the swamp caused infection with the potential for gangrene. 8 passengers became infected and were treated with hyperbaric chambers.
Oh, God. Also, I bet there's alligators in there.
I was just going to say, I read one account of somebody who survived who said he was like kind of sleeping in his seat in the 1 minute and the next minute he was like up to his face in mud and he could hear like snakes and alligators splashing around in the water around him.
Oh my God. Ugh.
I'm saying of all the places to crash and burn, like like the Everglades is like in the top 5 worst places.
Yeah, no thank you. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh God, I can't. Oh, wow. And I wonder if alligators smell blood like the way sharks do.
Oh,
like
I don't
if
know.
they all just started coming.
I don't know.
Oh God. I hate it. Okay. Yucky.
Because you know how alligators take you down, right?
No.
Do you want to know?
No, but yes.
Well, what they do is they grab onto you and then they pull you down to the bottom and kind of barrel roll with you. And they basically drown you with you in their jaws. They don't rip you to pieces. They know that you're not supposed to be, that you can't be in the water. Like they know that you will die at the bottom.
Oh God. Smart little fuckers. I hate it. I hate it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 8 of the 10 flight attendants survived the crash. Despite their own injuries, the surviving flight attendants were credited with helping other survivors and several quick thinking actions, such as warning survivors of the danger of striking matches due to jet fuel in the swamp water, as flashlights were not part of the standard equipment on commercial airliners at that time.
Oh, okay. I was like, is somebody lighting up a cigarette? Like, what do you?
No, it's the middle of the night. It's like midnight.
That's right. Oh my God.
And they were also singing Christmas carols to keep up morale and to draw attention to the rescuers of where they were.
Oh.
It was December 29th. Like it was right after Christmas.
Wow. Yeah.
Of the cockpit crew, only Don, our engineer that went down below, survived the initial crash, along with this technical officer that worked for Eastern Air and just happened to be on the flight but wasn't on duty. And he had gone into the avionics bay to help Don and was there with him at the moment of impact.
Oh, wow.
Bert was killed on impact, while Bob died in the wreckage of the flight deck before he could be transported to the hospital.
Oh, no.
Don was evacuated and made it to the hospital, but later died from his injuries. The NTSB investigation into the crash would reveal that the landing gear light that started the whole thing just had a burned out bulb.
No.
The landing gear was just fine.
That makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
So the guy that was doing the looky-loo hadn't yet established that he could see the landing gear being deployed properly.
Maybe not.
That's so, oh my God. That's so awful.
Yeah. Further, it was likely that what had happened was the autopilot had been inadvertently switched from altitude hold to control wheel steering mode in pitch. So in this mode, this control wheel steering mode, once the pilot releases pressure from the control column or the wheel or what they call the yoke, right?
Mm-hmm.
The autopilot maintains the pitch altitude of the plane until the yoke is moved again. So it's speculated that Bob turned around to talk to Dawn and accidentally leaned into the yoke, putting slight pressure on the stick that would have caused the plane to enter into a slow descent, which would have been maintained by the autopilot system.
So it's sort of like when your car is on cruise control, but as soon as you touch a pedal, it thinks that it's not on cruise control anymore.
What's more like it's on, like whatever pitch you put me on, that's what I'm going to stick it at. But if you move it, then I'm going to stay wherever you tell me to stay.
Gotcha.
It's not going to correct upward.
I see.
So it would,
These are all just totally avoidable, stupid things.
Yeah, the final NTSB report concluded the crash was a result of pilot error.
Oh.
Quote, the failure of the flight crew to monitor the flight instruments during the final 4 minutes of flight and to detect an unexpected descent soon enough to prevent impact with the ground, preoccupation with a malfunction of the nose landing gear position indicating system distracted the crew's attention from the instruments and allowed the descent to go unnoticed.
Wow.
Yeah. At the time of the crash of Flight 401, it was the first fatal crash involving the Lockheed TriStar aircraft and also a wide-body aircraft of any kind. It was also the second deadliest air crash in U.S. history, although today it ranks in 16th place.
Okay. Wow, God. That's dark.
Yeah.
16th place.
Well, you have to imagine that planes have gotten bigger since 1972, so they hold more passengers. You can hold more passengers, you can kill more people in one fell swoop.
Okay, well, yeah.
That's just math.
It's just a numbers game, really.
That's what I'm saying. It's just a numbers game.
God, it's pretty bad. Mm-hmm.
Within a few days of the wreckage, the plane was retrieved from the swamp and some of its parts were able to be salvaged, including a galley. The parts that were still usable were then used again on the Eastern Airlines fleet. And it wasn't long before crews on other Eastern flights started reporting strange things.
No.
Stories began to emerge of sightings, most often of Engineer Dawn and Captain Bob.
On these other planes where they were repurposed?
On one flight, a woman passenger had a question about the quiet man in uniform sitting next to her. When the flight attendant arrived to ask the man a question, he disappeared in front of both of them, and the passenger became extremely upset.
Well, no shit. Oh my God. I just got chills.
A flight engineer on another flight said he saw Dawn repo during his pre-flight inspection. He claimed Dawn spoke to him and told him he had nothing to worry about.
Oh my God. I mean, that's nice, I guess. Although I don't want that. No.
A flight attendant on a New York to Miami flight, coincidentally the same route as Flight 401, reportedly opened an overhead bin to find Bob's face peering out at her.
No. Okay. I fucking hate that.
It's worse.
Worse than
Yes.
hiding in an overhead bin? Just an eyeball where luggage is supposed to go? Fuck right off. I would be out of there so fast. You know what? I'll walk. Get me the fuck off this plane.
Oh I'll walk from New York to Miami.
I don't care. Oh my God.
I'll hitchhike. Okay. One of the spookiest incidents happened on a flight heading to Mexico City when an attendant said she saw the face of Don Repo looking at her from inside the oven in the galley.
No.
Freaked out, she grabbed another flight attendant who claims she also saw him. Both attendants frightened now, they called the cockpit. The flight engineer came to see for himself, and he also saw the face. He was the one that recognized the face as Dawn's. The apparition said, "Watch out for fire on this aircraft," then disappeared.
No. Oh my God.
On landing, it was discovered that one of the 3 engines was damaged and would have to be replaced. A ferry crew was assigned to fly it back home empty for repairs. But on takeoff, one of the 2 remaining engines caught fire, forcing them to make an emergency landing on just one engine. The cockpit voice recorder was also replaced when the repair work was finally done. According to rumor, the flight crew, who were highly reluctant to discuss it, had said that Don Repo had appeared in the cockpit and talked them through the landing. After the emergency landing and repair work was done, a flight attendant returned to the galley and saw an engineer fixing the oven. She asked the flight engineer later about the oven, and he said he hadn't fixed it because it didn't need to be fixed.
What? No.
Pilots and flight attendants frequently saw Don Repo after that, and he always gave them some kind of maintenance note about the aircraft. One flight, Don was reportedly seen sitting in the cockpit warning the operating flight crew of a faulty electrical circuit, which they found and replaced.
Wow.
There were other reports of Bob having been seen doing his pre-flight checks of the plane and telling the ground staff he'd already completed them. The pilot was supposedly so unnerved by it that he canceled the flight.
Oh, no shit. Oh my God.
Another story was that one day, preparing for a flight, a pilot was in the cockpit and heard loud knocks coming from under the floor beneath him. He opened the trapdoor to see a vision of Dawn looking at him, which quickly disappeared. But this made him want to go looking further, and supposedly he found a problem that could have caused a serious accident.
Okay, this is all well and good that he keeps leading people to like problematic areas, but what's with like Dawn being a looky-loo through all these weird cubbies? Like in the overhead, in the oven, just underneath the floor. Like
it was Bob in the overhead. Okay, it's Dawn still, in the oven.
It was Dawn in the oven. I hate it. I hate it. No.
It was Dawn in the oven with the candlestick. Okay. Eastern Airlines' official company line was that no such things were happening on any of their planes. And in fact, management warned employees that they could be fired if they were caught spreading ghost stories.
Okay.
And while they publicly denied that any of their planes were haunted, word on the street was that the parts salvaged from Flight 401 were removed from their fleet, and supposedly that's when all these sightings reportedly came to an end.
Okay.
An original floorboard from Flight 401 remains in the archives at the History Miami in South Florida. And pieces of the plane's wreckage can also be found in the possession of Crime, Wine, and Chaos alum Ed and Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut.
Of course. Fucking
we love a full circle moment here.
We sure do. Ed and Lorraine. Like, I'm going to need some of that airplane. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We should put the whole thing in air quotes, right? Like it's really from that plane, right?
Of course. Okay. God.
Well, there was a book published in 1976 by a man named John G. Fuller, The Ghost of Flight 401, documenting the story of the crash and its aftermath. He tells the stories of the paranormal encounters aboard the Eastern Air's planes and the belief it was caused by the reuse of the salvaged parts of Flight 401. Mm-hmm. In 1978, NBC broadcast a TV movie adapted from Fuller's book. Apparently, Eastern considered suing Fuller for libel, but decided it would just give the book more publicity and wasn't worth it.
Right.
Bob's widow and children did sue Fuller, though, for infringement of Bob's right of publicity, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. But the lawsuit was dismissed and the dismissal upheld on appeal. Another book published in 1980 by Robert J. Serling called From the Captain to the Colonel, An Informal History of Eastern Airlines, the claim that wreckage from Flight 401 was ever installed and later removed from other Eastern Air planes was false, and no Eastern employees ever claimed to have seen or believed in any of the alleged ghost sightings.
Okay.
In 2022, on the 50th anniversary, a group of South Florida survivors of the crash of Flight 401 unveiled a memorial in Miami Springs. The granite marker engraved with the names of the people who died stands in a grassy median of Curtis Parkway near the Miami Springs Country Club.
That's nice.
And that is the story of haunted Flight 401.
I don't like that. I do not like that. Opening the overhead and there's a face. Get out of here. Fuck. That's awful. No.
Yes.
Oh my God. That was a great story. I mean, it was terrible, but thank you.
Terrible. You're welcome. I mean, is it true? I don't know.
I don't know.
There was enough rumors flying that a guy wrote a whole book about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I do know. Oh God, that's so creepy. I hate it so much. Thanks for that.
You're so welcome.
Oh my God.
Sister, we did it.
We did it. Hey, be like Diana T and join the club.
Join the club, you guys. You get a bonus episode every month that no one else gets to listen to but club members. We drop new episodes every week, a day early for club members. And, well, this is going to come out after the fact, but we do virtual wine nights, which we just had one, and it was amazing. I'm sure of it. So get in there.
That's right.
Join the club. Patreon.com/crime, wine, and chaos.
That's right. Well, sister, we
I
did
love
it.
you so
love
much.
you.
That was really chaotic.
Chaotic. Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at Crime, Wine, and Chaos /Patreon. Cheers!
Was a regularly scheduled flight from JFK Airport.
Words are hard.
Words.